things that have made the biggest difference to me on Mounjaro. Hello, so for anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Lauren and I've been on Mounjaro since March 2025 and have lost 4 stone on Mounjaro and lost 4 stone previous to that as well, meaning that I've lost a total of 8 stone, which I'm over the moon about. And today we are going to talk through the top 5 things that made the biggest difference to me on this Mounjaro journey. So if that's something you're into, if you're starting Mounjaro, you're thinking about starting Mounjaro, you've been on Mounjaro for a while, then give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, because I'll be doing lots more content, sharing tips and tricks to help all of us on this fabulous journey. Now, the last one was the thing that did make the biggest difference. So hold on, stay with me and let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that made the biggest difference to me during the whole Mounjaro journey was really staying as low on the doses as I possibly could for as long as I could. Now, the reason I did this, I ended up doing a lot of research, even just looking at other people's content, especially on TikTok and YouTube, learning from other people's stories. So like I say, I started March 2025, and by that point, a lot of people had kind of been on it properly for about 6 months, maybe a year max. And a lot of people were learning from mistakes, really, that I was able to benefit from. And what was so wonderful is that they were being very open and sharing the fact that if they had known that they didn't have to jump up after each month, they would have gone slower. Now, just a caveat, like I do in all my videos, I'm no medical professional. What you have to do is right for you, and do make sure if you've got any questions, you go via your provider, your doctor, etc. But for me, this did make the biggest difference. So having that understanding that you have to be on each dose for a minimum of 4 weeks, minimum, not a maximum, really changed that game for me, because not only from a health point of view, but from that monetary point of view, I thought, if I can stay low, Mama's gonna save the pennies for the skinny clothes she's gonna get. So there are really several benefits of staying low and slow, is what I say. Being on that lower dose as well meant that I didn't rush down my weight, and not rushing down your weight and having a dramatic quick weight loss benefits so many other things. So I wasn't getting half as many side effects as everyone else was reporting. I'll be honest, I've barely had any side effects, and I've now been on it for 10 months. So the only side effects ever was in that first week where I just was not eating enough calories. I was almost scared of food. So I was kind of had the symptoms or the effects, just general feelings, that anyone would have if they weren't consuming enough. So I was tired, I was grouchy pouchy, I was feeling a bit sicky because I just wasn't eating enough. It wasn't anything to do with the Mounjaro itself, I just didn't have enough fuel in the body, so the car was not moving. It also meant things like I haven't experienced hair loss that like other people have. There was kind of a period where I experienced a little more than usual, but I haven't experienced clumps coming out considering I've been on it for 10 months. And again, I've kind of put that down to something I will be saying in a little while, but also the fact that I was quite low and slow on that weight loss, because it meant that my body could be putting fuel into everything rather than just focus on staying alive. Because if I wasn't able to eat enough because my dosage was too high, it would mean that any vitamins I was taking in was so focused on keeping my body alive, my brain functioning, that it wouldn't send the vitamins and produce that keratin that I would need for hair, skin and nails. It's the first thing that goes. Back to the rest of the side effects. The only time I really had side effects was when I had a blowout meal. So the first time I'd really experienced a side effects, other than that first week of those headaches, was after a friend's wedding. Now, I was being really good to begin with. It was little chicken skewery things, and I said, no, all right, I'll wait for my mains. Waited for my mains, and I was steady with that. I was steady with the dessert. Then the cake came out, and I thought, I'm gonna give it a whirl. Whirled I did. 3 bits of cake later, and a chicken kebab. Well, how to put this politely, shitting through the eye of a needle. I had the squits. Not immediately. So I thought I'd got away with this. I got home, and also I will say that I didn't have a bad kebab. I thought it was a good one. I had a bit of flatbread, I had some chicken, I had some halloumi, and I had salad in it. I didn't think it was too horrendous considering I'd been quite good apart from the cake. When I really noticed it is I got home, got to bed, and I was like, I had a churny tummy. It sounded like the Cowardly Lion was up in there. And I said to my other half, we might have to go home. We were actually staying about 2 hours away because I said, I'm in agony. Well, I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna use the facilities. And use them I did. I swear there wasn't an ounce left in me after that. Now, anyone that doesn't like poo humour, sorry, I haven't done a trigger warning, but I like it. And after a few bouts of that, I was clear. But that was the first time I had a side effect, and I could put it down to that food that was perhaps not right for me. It was probably greasy, probably cooked in a lot of oil, and that halloumi probably didn't help me either. The other time, again, considering this is 10 months I've been on this, was when I increased to 5 milligrams, and I'd been on it for a couple of weeks. But again, I just ate too much in that day. I knew I had. I went for the treats and everything, and I ended up being sick. That is the only time I've ever been sick because of Mounjaro. And again, it was down to me not eating right. So I've really had 2 bad bouts of sickness or diarrhea in 10 months, and it was because of what I did. It wasn't anything that was usual in terms of like my daily routine. And again, I'm putting that down to keeping low and slow on those doses. Now, don't get me wrong, other people do have a lot more struggles. So my dad, for example, I've been keeping him nice and low and slow. So he stayed on 2.5 for a very long time. He felt like it really wasn't working for him after maybe week 8. He went up and just did a micro dose of the 5 and went to 3.75. He then ended up getting the diddly dupes every kind of 3 after about 3 days after taking it, which is when it is at the peak of the system. So for him, he just wasn't ready for that. He was eating the right things. I still think maybe he goes a little bit heavier on the breads and things like that. And he also doesn't drink enough water. So there could still be things in his diet that could do to help this, but we've brought him back down to 2.5 and he's fine again. So everyone is different. Caveat, caveat, caveat. Some people go up the doses quite quickly and they've been fine, but this is just what's worked for me and made the biggest difference in my journey. So that was the first one, keeping low and slow. The second one, now for me, learning to prioritize my protein and my fiber was paramount. Now, this was for several different reasons. A, to build a healthy lifestyle. Now, I know I've said protein and fiber. Obviously, I would have carbs in my meals as well. But what I think about first is what protein am I having? What fiber am I having? That's always how I structure a meal. So if I know, right, I've got some chicken, I think, what do I want to have with that chicken? What fiber do I want to have that chicken? Do I want to turn it into a stir fry? Do I want to have meat, veg, and a little bit of carbies? What do I want to do with that? Yesterday, for example, I was like, I've got some salmon. I'm going to get some tender stem broccoli. I then had a little bit of rice to add that. But I always think of those 2 elements first, and I find they really help. And I don't just focus on the protein because that alone will cause a constipation. So focusing on the protein and the fiber has really helped my bowels. A lot of people have talked about constipation on this journey. And again, I can honestly say I've really had barely any constipation at all. Now, a couple of years back, when I first started kind of weight loss without Mounjaro, I was on Slim Fast. Don't do it! Now, whilst I did lose weight on that, I also gained 10 pounds in about a week. But what I did have was horrendous constipation. Now, usually I'll giggle about a little bit of a strain, a little bit of a heave-ho. I'll usually have a giggle, but this was no giggling matter. We thought I was generally going to have to go to hospital. I couldn't lay back, and it's just because I didn't have enough nutrients in the body. So everything was just kind of storing up like a baby's arm. I mean, it was a fully grown adult's arm by the end of it. Sorry, poo humour again. Anyway, and I had to take precautions afterwards to make sure that didn't happen. And ever since that, because it was really quite scary, I've always made sure that I never get in that situation again, which is why, as well as my protein, fiber goes in, and a heck of a lot of water. So I make sure, you're kind of getting 2 for 1 in this one, I make sure that I get about half a litre, which is about a pint, to a litre of water down me in the morning. Sometimes if I feel like I haven't had my ablutions, I'll try and get that down almost in 1, and it really does help me flush out every morning. Again, sorry to be graphic, but we need the info. But also having that protein again helps us make that keratin, helps us keep that fabulous hair, the nails, the skin as well, and muscles. We need that protein, but we need that fiber. Power couple. Again, you're getting a third one in this one. Not only did you get me saying about protein and fiber making the difference, you got me saying about water. I'm also going to tell you that the calories made the difference. You're getting 3 for 1. So knowing my calorie intake and not having too fewer calories or too muchness, too many, that's the one, calories has made a big difference in this journey. It's meant that I haven't been under eating, which has led to tiredness, malnutrition, hair loss, all of that. I haven't been under eating, but I haven't been overeating as well. So keeping an eye on those calories have been really key. A part of that's been listening to my body, but a big part of that was learning from the TDEE calculators. Now, I use a James Smith TDEE calculator, and that just calculates your height, your weight, your age, your gender, your activity level, and works out how many calories roughly you should be having a day. Now, ideally, we don't want to be having below 1,500, as I believe, again, not a medical professional, that's the NHS minimum. But some days it might be lower than that, sometimes it might be higher. depending on how my body's feeling as well. I'm not going to force food in if I'm not feeling it. But if you are on a lower amount of calories and you feel like you're having to force, it might suggest you need to go down that dose. We need to be eating. We want to keep the heart. So we want to feel good. So that was number 2, prioritizing that protein and that fibra. Number 3, the third thing that made a difference for me on my Mounjaro journey was knowing what kind of supplements I want to take. Now, I have done a different video about supplements, so feel free to go and have a little look at that. But in a quick nutshell, for me, having a multivitamin has really helped. It just made me feel a bit more sprightly. This is going to be quite a quick one. Getting some magnesium in was really good for me in terms of my sleep. Just as an adult woman in her nearly 40s, magnesium was great anyway, because again, it helped my sleep, it helps my muscles, it just helps me in the evening. And the third one I have every single day in my tea in the morning is my collagen powder. I swear by it. Again, collagen is great for our skin elasticity, hair and nails, which is something we need if we're on this kind of weight loss journey. We want to have the snap back. But yes, see what supplements work for you. And again, you don't have to have any supplements at all. Some weeks happen and I don't have anything. The only thing that I do regularly stick to is my collagen, but sometimes I don't have the others at all. See what works for you, and again, always consult a doctor if there are other things that you might be taking, so you don't want to be doubling up on your magnesium if it's in something else. My dad, for example, he can't have magnesium because of other tablets that he's on, so always consult with doctors before adding anything else in. My words, to your routine. The fourth thing that has really made the biggest difference for me on this journey has been making sure that I build a safe community around me. Now, whether that's you fabulous, gorgeous people here who have lent so much support and also comment on each other's comments, please continue to do that. By the way, like, subscribe and ring the bell. Whether it's on TikTok, which is where I found a lot of community there as well, or whether it was at the beginning, a very few selected trusted people. So that was one really close friend, my other half obviously, and my parents. So I kept that quite structured to begin with whilst I was trying to figure it out. And then once I'd figured it out and once I'd kind of overcome the stigma myself, because I was a bit like, well, I shouldn't be going on that because I should be able to do this myself because that's what we're brainwashed to think. I then felt more comfortable and confident about learning what is this medication doing for me and why do I need it. And then when questions came up, I didn't feel fearful. I felt confident in answering those questions. And also I learned to understand who was asking questions from a point of curiosity and who was asking questions from a point of judgment. And I would decide who I would give my time to. I'm sure you can imagine. Goodbye, naysayers. That's a Christmas card I don't need to buy. But for a lot of people, that section would be quite hard. But I would strongly advise that you build a connection, whether it's virtual or in your life, with someone that you can talk to this about. I love the story. I was doing a TikTok live once and this girl was telling me how she had no one in her actual life that she was telling. And I said, look, trust someone and see how they feel. She told them they were also on Mounjaro and didn't tell anyone. So you never know who you're creating bonds with. Everyone's on it now. I bet you everyone. So you never know. And my final thing that has made the biggest difference, more so is making the biggest difference going forward, is making sure that you celebrate your wins. We can get so caught up in where we've got to go. Oh, I still have got X amount to lose. I still want to get in this dress size. I'm not losing it quick enough. I still can't run that park run because I'm feeling uncomfortable. I still can't go to a spa. Think about what we have done. Let's celebrate those wins because it really does make the difference. And it gives such a huge boost to your journey. I think I've said it just recently in my past videos, but it was so important when you start taking those pictures, taking those videos, looking back on it and thinking, yes, it doesn't need to be a big thing. You don't need to go on a holiday. You don't need to have a spa day. You don't need to, go and announce it everywhere. You don't need to go and buy a whole wardrobe if you don't want to. Just do something for you where I've done this. Whether it's just writing it down in a diary, whether it's calling up a friend and saying, guess what, this is where I am now. Whether it's putting the before and after picture up on your phone screen so you can see how well you've done. I mean, if you can go to the spa, if you can book a holiday, do it. Do it. Go and get a new wardrobe, do it. But celebrate those wins however big or small you want to do it. Now I see people celebrating their wins. They've got, big helium balloons with the number of the amount of pounds they've lost. That's not my bag. I don't want to be doing that. But if you want to do it, proud of you, do it. I personally felt that I wasn't celebrating enough wins early on and was almost waiting for it to go wrong. I think that's why I didn't want to celebrate. But now I'm like, let's celebrate, bitches. So take that time to reward yourself however you feel fit. You've always got a space here as well. If you want to comment and say, what have you done? It doesn't have to be scale victories. It could be non-scale victories. It can be how you feel in yourself. It doesn't have to be related to a number or a size. Feel free to share it here and we will all love and applaud you for it. So I hope this provided somewhat of a help, sharing you the things that have made the biggest difference to me, because they truly are. I've really thought about this and thought about how can this help someone else and what would I have wanted to know at the start. So I hope it has helped you, and if it has, please subscribe to the channel, follow, like it, give me a little comment down below and let me know how you're getting on your journey. Feel free as well, if there's anything that you'd like me to cover, any topics that you think would be of interest to you, write them in the comments as well and I'll see if I can do a little video about them. But for now, this is Mounjaro Muncher #1, over and out.